Welcome to Global Trends. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. For decades, the celebrated friendship between the United States and Canada has been a model of international cooperation, marked by open borders, robust trade, and a shared commitment to peace and prosperity. The two nations have stood shoulder to shoulder through wars, economic crises, and global challenges, building a partnership that many believed was unbreakable. But now, that partnership is under unprecedented strain. The relationship, once defined by trust and mutual benefit, is now at a breaking point, with tensions rising to levels not seen in generations. In August 2025, the world is stunned as a fierce trade dispute erupts. President Donald Trump, returning to office with a promise to put America first, imposes sweeping tariffs on a wide range of Canadian goods, from lumber and steel to agricultural products. The move is met with immediate backlash, not only from Canadian leaders, but also from American businesses that rely on cross-border trade. In response, Canada takes a bold and risky stance. The Trudeau government threatens to leverage its vast energy resources, including uranium, which is absolutely vital to America's nuclear power grid. With Canada supplying nearly a quarter of the uranium used in U.S. reactors, the threat is not an empty one. The message is clear: Canada is prepared to use its energy dominance as a bargaining chip. This is no minor spat. The stakes are enormous. Billions of dollars in trade hang in the balance, and the stability of both economies is suddenly in question. Markets react with volatility, investors grow anxious, and ordinary citizens on both sides of the border begin to feel the ripple effects. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government refuses to yield to American pressure. In a series of high-profile press conferences, Trudeau signals a willingness to disrupt the flow of energy to the U.S., even if it means economic pain at home. Protests erupt outside Parliament, and the nation braces for a prolonged standoff. The threat to cut off uranium sends shockwaves through Washington. Lawmakers and energy officials scramble to assess the risk, realizing that America's energy security is more fragile than previously thought. The crisis exposes a critical vulnerability in the U.S. supply chain, sparking urgent meetings at the highest levels of government. What began as a political maneuver has now spiraled into a full-blown crisis. Diplomatic channels are flooded with urgent messages, and both nations are forced to reconsider not only their economic ties but also their strategic alliances. The world watches as the situation escalates, with other countries quietly weighing their own interests and allegiances. The eyes of the world are fixed on North America. Journalists camp outside embassies, world leaders monitor developments, and officials on both sides grapple with the risk of miscalculation. The stakes could not be higher, and the possibility of unintended consequences looms large. As two historic allies stand at a crossroads, the outcome of this conflict could redefine North American relations for generations to come, shaping the future not just for governments but for millions of ordinary people on both sides of the border. The crisis ignites in early 2025 when President Trump, championing America First, slaps a 25% tariff on most Canadian and Mexican imports. A targeted 10% tariff on Canadian energy is a direct blow to Canada's economic heart. Trump's message is clear: economic pain is leverage, and the entire $1 trillion trade relationship is now a bargaining chip. The move is celebrated by some, but alarms economists and business leaders who warn of a destructive cycle. Canada is forced to respond, setting the stage for a high-stakes confrontation. America's energy lifeline runs through Canada, its largest foreign supplier of oil, gas, and electricity. Every day, millions of barrels of oil and vast quantities of natural gas flow south, powering American homes, businesses, and industries. The intricate web of pipelines and transmission lines that crisscross the border is a testament to decades of deep energy cooperation between the two nations. But uranium is the ace up Canada's sleeve, often overlooked, yet absolutely vital. Canada supplies 28% of U.S. uranium, making it the single largest source for American nuclear reactors. This uranium is essential for generating nuclear power, which provides about 20% of America's electricity and is a cornerstone of its clean energy ambitions. Canadian uranium is not only abundant but also high-grade, efficient, and crucially, geopolitically secure. Unlike uranium from Russia or China, Canadian supplies come with the trust and reliability of a close ally. This security is invaluable in a world where energy can be used as a weapon. Ontario, a nuclear powerhouse, exports clean, reliable energy directly to U.S. states like New York and Michigan. These exports help keep the lights on in major American cities and support thousands of jobs on both sides of the border. Premier Doug Ford's threat to cut off energy isn't just political theater, it's a move that could disrupt daily life and cripple industry in key American states. Factories could grind to a halt, and entire communities could face blackouts if the flow of Canadian energy is interrupted. Energy isn't easily replaced. Building new pipelines or finding alternative suppliers would take years and cost billions of dollars. The infrastructure and trust built over decades can't be replicated overnight, leaving the U.S. vulnerable in the short term. Canada's leaders understand the leverage they hold, targeting the very engine of the American economy. Their decisions can send shockwaves through U.S. markets and politics. The threat transforms what might seem like a simple trade dispute into a full-blown national security crisis for Washington, forcing American leaders to rethink their energy strategy. The stakes have never been higher. The future of North American energy and the stability of both nations hangs in the balance. Canada strikes back with a 25% tariff on $20.7 billion of U.S. imports, targeting politically sensitive goods. Ottawa warns of escalating further, with an additional $86 billion in tariffs if the U.S. doesn't back down. Ontario Premier Doug Ford ups the ante, threatening to cut off energy exports and imposing surcharges on any that continue. Symbolic moves, like removing American alcohol from stores and canceling tech contracts, send a clear message. The goal: pressure American workers and businesses to lobby Washington. Canada's united front signals it won't absorb the blow passively. The dispute is now a two-sided economic war, with both nations bracing for pain. The trade war is no longer theoretical, it's threatening to derail both economies. For Canada, the risk of recession is real, as tariffs disrupt every major industry. Factories slow, exports drop, and layoffs rise, shaking consumer confidence. The U.S. isn't immune. Tariffs mean higher prices for cars, materials, and groceries. Integrated supply chains mean tariffs are a tax on both countries' businesses. Each border crossing adds costs, making North American products less competitive. Businesses are forced to rethink logistics, some even shutting down. Politicians talk of leverage, but the reality is economic pain and uncertainty. The longer the conflict drags on, the deeper the damage, and recovery could take years. Beneath Canada's united front, regional divisions are widening. Western provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan fear weaponizing energy could backfire, harming their own economies. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith refuses to endorse the hardline strategy, citing long-standing grievances over federal energy policy. She pursues her own talks with Trump, highlighting the complex economic realities within Canada. For Ontario and Quebec, restricting energy is leverage. For Alberta, it's a long-term risk. The lack of consensus weakens Canada's negotiating position and gives the U.S. an opening. As the crisis deepens, national unity is put to the test. The U.S.-Canada dispute is no longer just a bilateral issue. It's a spectacle unfolding on the world stage, with every move scrutinized by global powers. Rivals like Russia and China are watching closely, eager to exploit any sign of weakness or division between the two North American allies. The world's attention is fixed on the Arctic, where the stakes are higher than ever. In response, Canada is accelerating its pivot away from traditional U.S. defense reliance. The government is rapidly boosting its Arctic presence, deploying more troops and resources to the region, and investing in new technologies to secure its northern frontier. At the same time, Canadian leaders are reaching out to forge new alliances, seeking partners who can help counterbalance American influence and ensure national security. Plans to reduce dependence on American military hardware are already underway. Canadian defense contracts are being redirected to European and domestic manufacturers, a move that could fundamentally reshape the defense trade landscape and shift the balance of power in the region. Meanwhile, Ottawa is in turmoil. In the wake of Prime Minister Trudeau's resignation, a leadership vacuum has emerged. Assertive provincial premiers are stepping up to fill the gap, but their competing visions for Canada's future are fueling political instability and uncertainty at a critical moment. As China and Russia ramp up their Arctic ambitions, sending ships, building research stations, and staking new claims, the need for North American unity has never been greater. Yet, internal conflict and mistrust are undermining the very cooperation that once kept the region secure. The stakes extend far beyond tariffs and trade disputes. A permanent rift between the U.S. and Canada could weaken both nations, disrupt vital supply chains, and create a strategic vacuum that adversaries are eager to fill. Jobs, energy, and security are all on the line. From oil fields to factories, millions of livelihoods depend on cross-border cooperation and stability. The path forward demands urgent negotiation, creative diplomacy, and a willingness to compromise, before the damage becomes irreparable and the world's balance of power shifts for good.